Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah, I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you knit with ease, confidence and joy. I have some yarn for you today. Over the last couple of months I have been accruing some yarn. It's that time of year and I thought you might like to see it. Let's have a little look at what is actually a yarn haul. I didn't realise I did that, but it appears I do. So it's been a few occasions and I've just needed some new stuff and I'll show you what I've been getting. First of all, Nick and I went off to the Southern Wool Show. It's not far away from us, it's in Newbury at the racecourse, and there's a couple of stands there, so there were lots and lots of stalls to go around, and I got some yarn. I knew what I was looking for. And that is what I suggest when you're going to any of these things, that you know what you're looking for. And if there's something that feels like an impulse buy that you buy that you weren't looking for, it will very likely be something that you actually really need, rather than something that is completely out there and you're never going to use. That's what I tend to do when I'm at these things. Nick and I also go to a Rock and Gem show regularly, and it's got beads as well as minerals and rocks and gems, obviously, but it also does jewellery and that kind of thing. This is where I found these that I've showed you before. They inspired the colourways for the cowl that we knitted in September. So now I'm going to show you the yarn, and what I was looking for was chunky and a DK to knit some gloves with. I wanted a DK with colour changing yarn in it. I'm looking for chunky at the moment. I'm looking for chunky yarn, which is also known as bulky, large yarn, and it's a very difficult gauge of wool to find unless you find acrylic yarn. I started knitting with chunky yarn when I was first buying wool online, and it was kind of difficult. I couldn't find much other than Stylecraft and Sirdar yarns, which all had acrylic in, but they were very regular. The chunky yarns were very set in their way, and it was 5.5mm and 6.5mm needles, and that's what you knitted with. So I found it quite tough to find yarns that would match the patterns that I created back 15 years ago, when I was first really buying yarn online, and it was first available just a couple of stores that were bringing in more yarns, and we were able to get them online. I can't believe it's not that long ago, really, 15 years, but the world of buying yarns online has changed dramatically since then. So what I found was Bluefaced Chunky. This is from townenyarns.co.uk if you want to go and find some yourself. And this I am excited to put on the Swift and create into balls so that I can actually knit with it. And the plan is to recreate some of my old yarn, my old patterns. I've started doing that with some of them, and I will show you in a minute. But this looks like a really good one. And I also got, it's a very dark navy purple colour. It looks like an indigo, because it does have that warmth to it. So yeah, it's still a kind of dark purple, but it feels like a navy blue as well. If I put it against my navy, you can see that it still has that little bit of purple in it. So I like these two to go together. I'm excited to knit with them. That's 100 grams of each, and that is a chunky yarn. And it looks like a chunky yarn. It doesn't look like, oh, it's a chunky yarn and you've still got to use 9mm needles, which is verging on the super chunky. I want a regulated kind of chunky yarn, and that's what I've been looking for and finding quite difficult to find. Difficult to find without the acrylic in it. There are so many chunky yarns with the synthetic fibres in, and they're all over the place, but I have found it difficult. So those were two that I got at the Southern Wool Show. The DKs that I found, this one does have the colour changing throughout it, and I got the mustard to go with it as well. Now, Woollen Wytch is on YouTube, so do go and find her. These are home dyed, and she has lots of videos all over it, all over her channel, talking about the different yarn dyes that she uses and how she comes up with colours, etc. This is Bluefaced Leicester. Again, just like this one, this is Bluefaced Leicester, that's the wool. And it's a double knitting yarn, and it has the colour changing all the way through it. So I'm excited to knit with that. It starts with a kind of a charcoal grey, and it moves into paler greys, kind of lime greens, and this mustardy, which is called Sunshine. This grey mix is called Heathland Whispers. But the Woollen Wytch, do go and have a look at her. I will leave the link below. I'll leave the link for all of these yarns in the description as well. But do go and have a look at that YouTube channel. We can go and give her some love. So there you go. That is all of the yarn that I got from the Southern Wool Show. I restrained myself. So I was really pleased with that. I knew I wanted to go in there, only get a bit of yarn and just get a feel for what was there. There was so many different things there. There was weaving with the looms all set up so you could have a go. There were knitting machines. There was tons of crochet with all the kits, etc. All of the knitting, yarns, hand-dyed yarns. What else was there? There was knitting accessories. There was a whole stand full of Knit Pro needles and accessories. All of the stuff you would need to dye your own yarns as well with the fleece. So there were quite a few stalls of that, but there were a lot of places with hand-dyed yarns, and most of them, I knew this might be the case because I am very aware of the fact that a lot of hand-dyed yarns that are sold online and at these shows are sock yarns. I didn't really want sock yarns unless I was going to use them double. I really was looking for the thicker yarns. The DK and the Chunky were perfect. They were just what I needed. So that's what I've got recently. What I then went out and found, I knew I wanted to do this, was knit up another mug cozy and actually create the patterns so that you can knit them too, because I do get asked about them. If I put a photo on, where's the pattern, and I haven't actually got it available for anyone to utilise yet. So this is the new one that I've knitted, and that's a very old one. And all of this yarn is drops. I have drops Alaska and drops Nepal. And we have the yellow one again. There's the pink. I've used that pink a lot in the past. There's another bluey turquoise colour there, and that's the same. No, it's not. It's a different grey, a slightly different grey. And we have a blue here, which I've knitted with many times before. This is one of their really good yarns. I really like the drops Poland Alaska. It's really good for Aran yarn. If it's something that isn't going to get worn and agitated a lot, I very likely wouldn't use this to knit up a jumper or a cardigan because I'm very aware that it can get pilly. But it is a very good yarn for home accessories. I have it, I've knitted it up into blankets that we use on a regular basis. So yeah, and they have some lovely colours too. I do go back to them. They're 100% wool, and they're very comfortable wools as well. I think one of them has alpaca in. That's 100% wool, the Alaska, and the Nepal is wool with alpaca. So yeah, definitely a yarn that I have gone back to again and again, and it's really good for using for tutorials here on YouTube because the yarn is thick enough and you can see the colours, so the stitches aren't hiding and you can see them quite clearly. So those mug cozies, I do want to create maybe one or two more patterns, and then you can kind of get the bundle of them, and it'll be a lot easier than just saying here's one pattern for a mug cozy. I thought it would be nice to have a couple. Then I knew alongside that, and I'm also creating a course at the moment, so I'm knitting that alongside all of this. Now that my voice is a bit better, I will go back and do some more recording of those videos. So if you've already got hold of that, then you know it's coming. So what else have I been doing? I have been knitting more of my archive patterns. My archive patterns, like I say I want to do with this, my archive patterns are very much chunky yarns. A lot of them are chunky yarns. And I wanted to find the yarns to re-knit them. I also wanted to double check them all, bring them up to date and make sure that you could knit them just as easily as I could knit them. I've gone through 2 of the patterns so far, just jiggled a bit here and there, and it looks like we're going to be going full steam ahead on releasing some of those in the next few weeks. So what have I done? I have found some yarn. I have knitted with this before and I liked it before. This Retreat Chunky is from West Yorkshire Spinners. So it is UK yarn. You may be able to find it online to have delivered to you. I'm pretty sure you can. Wool Warehouse in the UK, woolwarehouse.co.uk, I buy most of my yarn from, and they send worldwide quite happily. So West Yorkshire Spinners, if you want any of their yarns, I buy a lot of it from the Wool Warehouse because it makes it easy. So this is made in Yorkshire in the UK, and it has some lovely colours. Only a few colours, but they are really nice. This is what they describe as a roving yarn. It's a single ply, so you have to be aware of the stitches as you're knitting because it isn't twisted and threaded and plied. It's a single ply. So if you're not too careful, you can pierce the yarn as you're knitting, but it actually gives a really nice effect. Once you're used to it, I actually really like it. But you don't have to use this yarn to knit this up. The original pattern where I knitted this, I will put the photo on. I made it as a men's pattern, and anyone can wear it really. I just need to put the pom-poms on the top right now. But we have 2 colours, and I really love the way that the colour changes here. So you can actually see the colour change. So that's what it is. It looks like it's inside out because of the way that the pearl rose, the wrong side is on the outside, but that is purposeful. So we have 2 of them. They haven't settled and I haven't finished them yet. But yeah, the pom-poms will go on the top of them. But you can knit it with any chunky yarn. The whole idea of this is that you can find chunky yarn no matter which one you want to find, and you'll be able to knit it up. There are lots of chunky yarns out there with different types of fibres in. I really like this. I'm looking forward to knitting with this one. Just go for it. See what you can find in your place in the world and knit them up. It's that kind of yarn, that kind of knitting that I want to make it easier for you. So you don't have to worry about trying to find this exact yarn and then before you know it, it's discontinued and you can't find it anymore. So that's the first archive pattern that I've knitted up. I mean, the mug cozy, it's from a few years ago now, so you could call it archive, but you know, not really. Now, this is a scarf that I've been knitting up. Boy, is it long. And I do want to mention this. I've been knitting this up for a reason, because I started knitting this a couple of weeks ago. I needed to knit, I wanted to knit, but I didn't have the energy for a complicated knit. And this is why I knitted up the mug cozy before I got my cold. And then I thought I can't contemplate knitting more mug cozies with cables. And why I started knitting this. Now, I have changed this pattern slightly so that it feels and looks and wears better, and I'm really pleased with it. And what I will do is make, what I have done is create 2 sizes. So this is the adult size, and the whole idea of this is, it is leaf pocket scarf. So we create 2 leaves and we sew them on at the base here, and hey ho, you have a pocket. Now, that doesn't look very pocket-like when I just hold it on there. But the original photo from the original pattern will show you that it is a lot better than it feels right now. I really like this. It's one of my favourite patterns that I've ever created, and I am so excited that you can knit it up with me again. It's going to be a much better pattern. I'm really pleased with the way I've changed it just slightly. Yeah, it's a super chunky yarn. So if you want to knit it in a leaf colour like green or brown or orange, go for it. I quite like it in this cream because creamy colours in the winter is just warm and cosy and snow-like. You could knit the leaves in a different colour. You could knit more leaves and put them all over the scarf if you like. The leaf pocket scarf will be over on the website soon as well. And these archive patterns are going to start reappearing. I have a few more I want to reinvent as well, and I will be using different yarns for them. So the whole idea is that I get these chunky yarns and experiment with them with these older patterns, because we can breathe new life into them with the new colours, with the new types of yarns. And I really do like knitting with natural fibres, but if you're not able to because of sensitive skin, or you would rather not knit with natural fibres, then go for it. Use the yarns that you can get quite easily from Stylecraft or Serdar, which is 100% acrylic. They will suit this kind of knit perfectly, and it will be a really good budget yarn as well if that's what you would rather knit with, because I've created it so that it is 5.5mm, 6.5mm needles, perfect kind of yarn. And when you're knitting a hat, if it's a centimetre out or it doesn't quite fit the shape that it's supposed to, it's going to still fit on the head. It's not going to matter that much. So we have 2 sizes of hat here, and I might do that with more of the hats that I'm going to bring out. But the whole idea is that you're going to have hats available to you to knit up for children in your life. Don't have any children's patterns in the shop right now. I've got babies' hats, but that's about it. So I wanted to revamp these because I created them for children originally, and I had some friends bring their children around to do some modelling for me, and they're off at university now. So it's just one of those things, time flies when you're having fun. But these hats, I created them so they would be classic patterns that you could knit for a lifetime. Your children could have them, your grandchildren could have them. My niece and nephew have worn them, and I'm sure I will knit them up again for their children. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Classic patterns can go a long way, and if you find the colours of the day, then they can feel modern. And I knit them up with different yarns as well, so they will really work. But yeah, so I've really enjoyed knitting this, and it's just been something. We had Doctor Who on yesterday evening, and I knitted another, well, I started there yesterday evening with a Doctor Who on, and we were nearing the end of the Doctor Who episode, and I thought, yeah, that's enough. So I sat there and I watched the end of the Doctor Who without knitting. But that's pretty good going, isn't it? What is that? 10, 12 inches? Yeah, cool. And looking forward to sharing this with you. I will get Nick to take some photos of me wearing this when we're out. But yeah, so that is good going. I do hope you've enjoyed a look at all of my yarn. Actually, I will show you one more thing. I had a company offer me some yarn, and here we go, there it is in its box. Luca-S Yarns. Now this company is created by the son of 2 people who they started a company of cross stitch and cotton threads for cross stitch back in 1992. They've been very successful, and the cross stitch patterns they've created are astounding. Some of them look out of this world. I can't believe they're cross stitch. It looks like a photograph, but they're amazing. So he's come over to the UK, and maybe 5 years ago he started creating yarns. So this is what he's got so far. We have sock yarn, which is multiple colours. We have a merino, which is a DK, which is a really nice soft merino yarn, and it says premium merino, and it is. It's so soft. Couldn't believe that. This is a super soft merino for Aran knitting as well. And then we have the kid silk. Now, it is unusual to find kid silk that it doesn't have any polyamide in it, but this feels really sturdy, and it is just mohair and silk. So I'm actually really interested in knitting with that to see what comes up, how it works out when I knit with it. So yeah, there are lots of yarns here. I will see how they come up. So those are new in my collection of yarns as well. I'm definitely knitting with stuff, and I have knitted with a lot of stuff over the last few months, and shared it all with you as well. It's not a massive yarn haul, it is just what I need, and I'm definitely going to knit with it, and you're going to see some of it on video as well, because I am going to be creating videos as well. Now what I will say is I will get the Swift out, there we go, and share how I create balls of yarn from the Swift and from these skeins. That will be a fun video. I do hope you'll join me for that. I want to do that soon. So there you go. That is my yarn haul, and what I've been knitting with it as well. Do share in the comments what yarn you've got recently and what you've been knitting, and which of these patterns you're itching to get hold of. There will be more of my archive patterns coming up as well, and I'm going to use these yarns I've got to start knitting with them. I have 2 more chunky yarns on the way, and I'm hoping that they will do well for these hats as well. And the whole idea is that I can share with you the different yarns that would work for these patterns, so you don't have to get a specific yarn to knit up each hat. Each hat will work with multiple yarns. Fingers crossed, I will be able to share even the finished knits with the different chunky yarns. I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Happy knitting.